reason I sell 6 million records, the reason I could go to jail and come out without a scratch.
What if one of hip-hop's most legendary figures left behind a shocking truth that could change how we view him? Tupac Shakur, known for his powerful lyrics and outspoken character, died amid violence and controversy. However, beneath the tragic circumstances of his death, there's a secret that many have speculated about but haven't dared to confront. As whispers of this mystery swirl, one question lingers. What unsettling secret did Tupac carry to his grave? Let's find out. The origins of a lyrical rebel. Tupac Amaru Shakur, born on June 16, 1971 in East Harlem, Manhattan, New York, was a rapper, poet, and actor. Despite his tragic demise, his imprint on hip-hop and the music industry thrives. His personality embodies that of a lyrical rebel. Although popularly known as Tupac Shakur, he was initially named Lasan Parish Crooks at birth. The moment he clocked 1, he was renamed Tupac Amaru Shakur. His name referred to Tupac Amaru II, a descendant of the last Incan ruler, who was executed in Peru in 1781 after he revolted against Spanish rule. Shakur's mother, Afeni Shakur, explained, "I wanted him to have the name of revolutionary indigenous people in the world. I wanted him to know he was part of a world culture and not just from a neighborhood." While in Baltimore, Tupac attended Roland Park Middle School and completed 9th grade at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. In the 10th grade, he transferred again to the Baltimore School for the Arts, where he studied acting, poetry, jazz, and ballet. Young Tupac acted in Shakespeare's plays and the Nutcracker Ballet. This might have been a sight for people who were only familiar with the image of Tupac Shakur, the rapper, revolutionist, and ex-convict. At the Baltimore School for Arts, Tupac and Jada Pinkett Smith began a budding friendship. She would later be the muse responsible for some of his poems. At this school, he created a reputation for himself as a rapper. He would go on to win competitions for the school's best rapper with the help of his friend, Dana Smith, who served as a beatbox. His humor and talent made him a popular kid in school, and his obvious interest in music drew individuals with similar interests. In 1988, Tupac moved to Marin City, California, and transferred to Tamalpais High School. There he performed in several theater productions. He had spent all this time honing his creative skills, but he never got to graduate from high school. Later, he earned his GED, which was enough learning for the youth.
Wish you could be 18 and when you get some more rights?
Well, 18 will bring lots of responsibilities that I don't want.
Rebellion against the system began to rear its head in Tupac, even before he became a rapper. However, this rebellion somehow ran in his genes. Let us take a few steps back into the family line to see how true this is. Afeni Shakur and William Garland were Tupac Shakur's biological parents. They were both active members of the Black Panther Party in New York. Revolutionary movements in the late 1960s and the early 1970s mostly led to the conviction of many black activists, and the Shakurs were no strangers to the justice system. A month before Tupac was born, his mother was tried in New York City as part of the Panther 21 criminal trial. This was a high-profile criminal trial that involved 21 members of the Black Panther Party who had been charged with conspiracy to commit murder, arson, and other crimes. Afeni was acquitted of over 150 charges. Other family members involved with the Black Panthers' Black Liberation Army were convicted and imprisoned for serious crimes. Tupac's stepfather, Mutulu Shakur, spent 4 years as one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. He had been convicted for an infamous robbery in 1981 that involved a Brinks armored truck and the death of police officers and a guard. He was finally apprehended in 1986, over 5 years after the robbery. Tupac's godfather, Elmer Geronimo Pratt, was also a member of the Black Panther Party. He was wrongly convicted of murdering a schoolteacher during a 1968 robbery. After 27 years serving time for another man's crime in prison, his conviction was overturned after it was discovered that the prosecutor had concealed evidence that proved his innocence. His godmother, Assata Shakur, is a former member of the Black Liberation Party and was arrested for the death of a New Jersey state trooper, Werner Forster. She was convicted in 1977 but later escaped prison in 1979. She was later granted asylum in Cuba in 1984. She remains in Cuba today, but her zeal for social activism forever burns bright. Since 2013, she has been on the FBI Most Wanted Terrorists list. The Shakurs had been shaking up the system for a while, but Tupac was going to do something more than shake it up. The rise of his music career was only the beginning. His music career. Tupac Shakur began to make music under the stage name MC New York in 1988. In the same year, he attended poetry classes with Layla Stenberg as his tutor, who later became his manager. She organized a concert for him and his rap group, which went by the title Strictly Dope. Layla helped Tupac get into the Digital Underground, a record label managed by Atron Gregory. By 1990, Atron made him the backup dancer for Underground. However, Tupac could not remain hidden behind someone else's spotlight for too long. He had things to say.
Boy, congratulations on an incredible performance. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even born yet, so I've been out here. Just nobody was looking at me.
Shakur debuted under the stage name Tupac with a new record label, Interscope Records, on the group's January 1991 single Same Song. The song was featured on the film Nothing But Trouble soundtrack starring Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Chevy Chase, and Demi Moore. The song opened the group's 1991 EP titled This Is an EP Release, while Shakur appeared in the music video. At Layla's request, Digital Underground co-founder Jimmy Chopmaster J. Drite worked with Shakur, Ray Love, and DZ, a DJ, on their earliest studio recordings. Drite later disclosed that Tupac did not work well with the group. In Drite's words, this guy was on a mission. From day one, maybe he knew he wouldn't be around 7 years later. From 1981 to 1999, Drite worked with Digital Underground to produce Tupac's earliest work, Strictly Dope. These recordings were lost along the line but were rediscovered in 2000. They were released under the title The Lost Tapes, circa 1989. Afeni Shakur, Tupac's mother, sued to stop the sale of the recordings. Still, it was released again as Beginnings, The Lost Tapes, 1988 to 1991. In November 1991, Tupac released his debut album, Tupacalypse Now. The title referenced the 1979 movies Apocalypse Now. Songs on the album, like Trapped and Brenda's Got a Baby, depicted his experience as an African-American man born into a system of socioeconomic disadvantage. The U.S. Vice President at the time, Dan Quayle, said, "There's no reason for a record like this to be released. It has no place in our society." His songs stirred up controversy, especially for people in the political space. Tupac explained himself saying, "I just wanted to rap about things that affected young black males. When I said that, I didn't know that I was going to tie myself down just to take all the blunts and hits for all the young black males, to be the media's kicking post for young black males." Tupacalypse Now was certified gold, and 500,000 copies were sold. The album received critical acclaim and maintained its position as one of the best hip-hop albums to date, as it tackled issues still prevalent in society. His next album, Strictly for My Niggas, was released in 1993. It was a commercial success and debuted at number 24 on the Pop Albums chart. It emphasized Tupac's socio-political views and provoked controversy for the young artist. Around this period, other African-American rappers like Ice Cube and Ice-T also went political with their rap, speaking truth to power regardless of the consequences. In its vinyl release, Side A is labeled the Black Side, while Side B is the Dark Side. The album's song, I Get Around, became a party chant as it became Tupac's breakthrough song. There was also a song empowering black women titled Keep Ya Head Up on the album. The album's success was no surprise. It was certified platinum, and more than 1 million copies were sold. In 1993, Tupac formed a group named Thug Life. This group included Tyrus Himes, Dyron Rivers, his stepbrother, Mopreme Shakur, and Walter Burns. Most of the time, the group performed live without Tupac. They released their only album, Thug Life Volume 1, on October 11, 1994. The original version of the album was scrapped, and most of the songs were redone because gangsta rap was under scrutiny at the time. The album still got certified gold, much to the testament of Tupac's ingenuity. Tupac would perform his single, Out on Bail, at the 1994 Source Awards, although it was one of the songs scrapped from the album. In 1993, the Notorious Big visited Los Angeles and asked a local substance dealer to introduce him to Tupac, and they easily became friends. The pair would hang out whenever one was in the other's city. During this period, their friendship became widely recognized because Tupac would call Big to the stage to rap with him. They also collaborated on songs together. They both recorded Runnin' from the Police and House of Pain. It was alleged that Big had asked Shakur to manage him. However, Tupac advised him that Sean Diddy Combs would make him a star. Tupac appeared to live larger than Big, spending lavishly. While Big had not established himself in the industry yet, Tupac invited him to join his side group, Thug Life. But Big chose to form his own instead, naming it the Junior Mafia. They would later have a fallout after Tupac got shot at Quad Studios in 1994. Tupac's third album was released a year after his fallout with Big. It was titled Me Against the World and put out while he was imprisoned. The album is claimed to be his best workout and is ranked among the greatest influential rap albums. The album debuted at the #1 spot on the Billboard 200 chart and sold over 240,000 copies in its first week. That set the record for the most first-week sales for a solo male rapper. Dear Mama, the album's most successful single, smoothly topped the Hot Rap Singles chart and peaked at #9 on the Billboard Hot 100. In July, it was certified platinum, and other singles on the album, like So Many Tears and Temptations, continued to top charts. At the 1996 Soul Train Music Awards, Tupac won Best Rap Album, and by 2001 it had sold about 3 million copies in the US alone. While Shakur was imprisoned in 1995, his mother was about to lose her house. Tupac had his wife Keisha Morris contact Death Row Records founder Suge Knight in Los Angeles. His mother received $15,000 immediately. While this happened, a rivalry was simmering between Death Row and Bad Boy Records. It was an East Coast and West Coast battle, but was not heated then. By October, Tupac returned to Los Angeles and joined Death Row while the appeal of his 1994 conviction was pending. His fourth album came the following year in February, titled All Eyes on Me. It had only 5 singles and was the first of the 3 albums he had signed to produce under Death Row. This album focused less on socio-political controversial views and emphasized the gangsta lifestyle. The album boasted of more party songs and less introspective lyrics. It also stood out from his past albums. Kevin Powell, a music journalist, observed that Tupac, once released from prison, had become more aggressive and seemed to be a different person altogether. This was Tupac's second album to reach #1 on the top R&B hip-hop albums and pop albums charts. It sold over 500,000 copies in its first week and was 5 times multi-platinum by April of the same year. Songs like How Do You Want It and California Love maintained the #1 position on the charts, and his diss track, Hit 'Em Up, only helped in gaining the album more traction. On the song, he made bold, violent threats to members of Bad Boy Records and other East Coast rappers. The album garnered more awards for the gangsta rapper over time, and it was evident that his talent and skill as a rapper and songwriter were not a one-hit wonder. He had proved his supremacy and had shown that he had come to stay, regardless of the rivalry or the pending conviction. However, a tragedy turned everything down. This gripping tragedy shook the hip-hop industry and every avid music listener worldwide. A gripping tragedy. Tupac Shakur attended the Bruce Seldon vs. Mike Tyson boxing match with Marion Suge Knight, the head of Death Row Records, at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. After leaving the match, one of Knight's associates, Trayvon Trey Lane, a member of the MOB Pirates gang based in Compton, California, spotted Orlando Anderson from the rival Southside Compton Crips gang in the MGM Grand lobby. Earlier that year, on July 1996, Anderson and a group of Southside Crips attempted to rob Lane in a Foot Locker store at the Lakewood Center Mall in Lakewood, California. Trayvon Lane told Tupac about the incident, and he resorted to attacking Anderson in the lobby. He asked Anderson if he was from the Southside Crips, and punched him in the face, knocking him to the ground. Tupac and Knight's entourage assisted in assaulting Anderson. The fight, captured on the MGM Grand's video surveillance, was broken up by hotel security. After the fight, Tupac returned to his hotel and informed his girlfriend, Kidada Jones, about the incident, promising to return to her. He left in a BMW sedan with Suge Knight, and went to Club 662 to perform a charity concert. Minutes before the shooting, Tupac's friend, Leonard Jefferson, took a picture of him in the vehicle with Suge Knight. At 11 p.m., Tupac and Suge were stopped by officers on Las Vegas Boulevard for playing the car stereo too loudly and not having the car's license plates on. The plates were found in the car's trunk and released not long after. By 10 minutes after 11, they were stopped at a red light, and a vehicle occupied by two women pulled up to their left side. Tupac leaned in to exchange words with the women and invited them to Club 662. 5 minutes into that exchange, a late model Cadillac drove up to Suge's right side. The window rolled down and a man shot rapidly into Tupac's BMW. He got hit 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, and once in the thigh. One of the bullets got into Tupac's right lung, and Suge was grazed in the head by the bullet. Tupac's bodyguard, Frank Alexander, later revealed that when he was about to ride along with Tupac in Suge's car, Tupac asked him to drive Jones's car instead in case they needed more vehicles from the club back to their hotel. Alexander disclosed more information regarding the scene in his documentary Before I Wake. He revealed that after the assault, one of the convoy's cars followed the assailant, but he never heard from the occupants. Yaki Gaddafi was said to have ridden in the car behind Tupac with bodyguards at the time of the shooting, but Yaki, along with members of the Death Row group, refused to disclose any substantial information to the police. They steadfastly followed the code of no snitching. Although Suge Knight suffered from injuries and a flat tire right after the tragic incident, he was able to drive a mile away from the crime scene. The bike patrol pulled them over again, and this was when the paramedics were finally called to action. They took the pair to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Gobi Rahimi, Death Row music video director who visited Tupac at the hospital, disclosed that he had received news from a Death Row marketing employee that the shooters had called the record to threaten Tupac. He passed this information on to the police, but they claimed to be understaffed. Allegedly, Tupac said he was dying while he was being wheeled into the emergency room. At the hospital, Shakur was heavily sedated, placed on life support machines, and ultimately put under a medically induced coma after repeatedly trying to get out of bed. He was visited by his girlfriend, Kidada Jones, and he regained consciousness when she played Don McLean's Vincent on the CD player next to his bed. According to Jones, Shakur moaned, and his eyes were filled with mucus and swollen. Jones told Shakur that she loved him. Suge was released the day after, but did not say anything about the incident till days after. He told the police officers he had heard something but saw nothing that night. His statement did nothing to help or aid the investigation. At the time of Tupac's hospitalization, the police claimed to have no leads. Sergeant Kevin Manning said that during the week of the incident, the officers had not gotten a lot of cooperation from Tupac's friends and members of Death Row. Rahimi and other members of Tupac's group, Outlaws, watched him in the hospital. They feared that whoever had shot him would come back to finish the job. Rahimi mentioned the possibility that the group brought weapons with them. While in the critical care unit on the afternoon of Friday, September 13, 1996, Tupac died of respiratory failure that led to cardiac arrest after the removal of his right lung. Doctors attempted to revive him but could not stop the hemorrhaging. His mother, Afeni, made the saddening decision to cease medical treatment. He was pronounced dead 3 minutes after 4 p.m., uncovering the murder mystery. What terrible secret had gone to the grave with Tupac? In 2014, a police officer who claimed he witnessed Tupac's last moments revealed that Tupac had refused to disclose the identity of the person who had shot him. When the officer asked if he had seen the person or people responsible, Tupac responded by saying, "F you," to the officer. The paramedics or other officers present at the scene did not mention this scene or report it. However, knowing Tupac's persona, it did not seem too far-fetched. A year after the shooting, Sergeant Kevin Manning, who headed the investigation, told Las Vegas Sun investigative reporter Kathy Scott that Shakur's murder may never be solved. According to him, the case slowed early in the investigation as few new clues came in and witnesses clammed up. Manning stated that the investigation was at a standstill. Edi Amin, a collaborator of Shakur's and a member of Outlaws, said he was positive law enforcement knew what happened and added, "This is America. We found bin Laden. In 2002, the Los Angeles Times published a two-part story by Chuck Phillips titled "Who Killed Tupac Shakur?" based on a year-long investigation. Phillips reported that the shooting was carried out by a Compton gang called the Southside Crips to avenge the beating of one of its members by Shakur a few hours earlier. Orlando Anderson, the Crip whom Shakur had attacked, fired the fatal shots. Las Vegas police considered Anderson a suspect and interviewed him only once. Briefly, Anderson was killed nearly 2 years later in an unrelated gang shooting. Phillips' article also implicated East Coast rappers, including the notorious Big, Tupac's rival at the time, and several New York City criminals. The second article in Phillips's series assessed the murder investigation and said that Las Vegas police had not done much of a good job in handling the investigation. His article listed the missteps of the Las Vegas police in a numerical order. They included discounting the fight that occurred just hours before the shooting, in which Shakur was involved in beating Anderson in the MGM Grand Lobby, and failing to follow up with a member of Shakur's entourage who witnessed the shooting. He told Las Vegas police he could probably identify one or more of the assailants, but was killed before being interviewed. Lastly, the police failed to follow up on a lead from a witness who spotted a white Cadillac similar to the car from which the fatal shots were fired and in which the shooters escaped. Due to the looming mystery around Tupac's death, many theories were raised to explain the unfortunate event. In 2011, Haaretz, an Israeli newspaper, reported that the FBI released documents as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request, revealing its investigation of the Jewish Defense League for extorting protection money from Shakur and other rappers after making death threats against them. Suge claimed he had been the original target of the killers because, according to him, it was a hit on him to seize control of Death Row Records. But Suge's assertion did not hold water because a year after the shooting, during an ABC primetime live interview, he said that he did not know who had shot Shakur, but would never tell officers if he did. Gaddafi was involved in a scuffle with officers 2 days following the shooting after they pulled over a motorist with whom he was acquainted, and he protested. Gaddafi left Las Vegas days after Shakur's death, traveling to Atlanta and Los Angeles before settling in New Jersey, where his relatives lived. At that time, Compton investigators assembled mugshots of several gang members, which included Anderson and hand delivered them to Las Vegas. Manning said detectives called Gaddafi's lawyer to set up a meeting with the rapper so that he could be shown the pictures. According to Manning, the calls were not returned. Officers did not try to locate Gaddafi, who was fatally shot in a housing project in Irvington, New Jersey on November 1996, 2 months after Shakur's shooting. It seemed like all the witnesses to the incident were being killed off right before they could give a clue to the police. Mean and Alexander told the Times almost 2 years later that Las Vegas police had never asked them to view photos of possible suspects in the case, even though they observed and saw the men who fired the shots. In an interview with Alexander conducted by Las Vegas police on March 19, 1997, he was shown a series of 8 photo lineups. Still, he was unable to identify any suspects from them. Mean claimed to have seen all 4 men in the vehicle, while Alexander reported seeing the face of the suspect who shot Shakur. In his March police interview, Alexander said that he only saw the occupants of the shooter's car in more of a profile. The Las Vegas police disregarded the pair's account of the shooting as it barely gave away any information. In the 2018 USA Network documentary Unsolved, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, a Crips gang leader in California and Anderson's uncle, claimed to have been in the car with Tupac's murderer when the shots were fired. He declined to name the shooter, citing street code. Despite this, he stated that Terrence T. Brown drove the car, and that Anderson and DeAndre Dre Smith was sitting in the back seat of the car, all of whom were Southside Crips and are now deceased. He also stated that the shooter was sitting in the back seat, but none of these accounts helped the investigation. None of the people close to Tupac disclosed anything, and those who did barely directly described what they had seen. In the middle of all of this was a family in mourning, but why grief when the Shakur legend's murderer was running around a free man or perhaps 6 feet beneath the ground? The search continues. On July 18, 2023, the Las Vegas Police Department executed a search warrant in connection with Shakur's murder. The search was conducted in a home in Henderson, Nevada. It was later revealed that the home belonged to the wife of Dwayne Keefe D. Davis. Davis got arrested because of Tupac's murder on the 29th of September in the same year and charged with murder. He pleaded not guilty on the 2nd of November. And on the 7th of the same month, Judge Carly Kiemi scheduled his trial to begin on June 3, 2024. By January 9, 2024, Davis was granted a $750,000 bail and allowed house arrest. A second court session was held on the 10th of February in the same year, and it was agreed that Davis's trial would be delayed till November 4. Although he had been granted bail, Davis is still imprisoned at the Clark County Detention Center. However, during the grand jury hearing, a gang member testified that Dre'Andre Smith was the shooter, and Davis had only passed the firearm to Anderson. He said, "When Davis passed the firearm to Orlando, Orlando didn't have a clear shot. Big Dre is 6'6". He's big, and you're not going to be able to lean over a big guy like that and get, my time of knowing things. You're not going to reach over like that because shells would have been popping all in Big Dre's face and all kind of stuff. He can't bend down or anything, he's too big." There is still no clear direction for who might have killed the star. The murderer is probably 6 feet under. However, one thing is clear. Tupac might not have lived a long life, but his music, his struggles, his beliefs, his loyalty, and the circumstances surrounding his death have helped immortalize him. His legacy would forever be echoed through time. With every mystery, a lesson or two is learned. So what have you picked from Tupac's story? Feel free to air your views in the comments and like the video. For more wholesome content like this, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification button.